making that better, both for our customers, and then, looking for ways to bridge the gap with our customers and, connect them with consumers. So,
Mm-hmm.
we, without going into, company strategy
No,
and
of course.
too much detail here, we've got, initiatives around, recently we've been rolling out products that allow our customers to sell things and, have us ship the
Sure.
ship the order directly to the consumer, for
Sure.
example.
What type of technologies do you see in maybe not the so far future, but maybe out a bit further that are really going to be game changers in the type of things you're doing?
Mobile is an area that we continually invest in.
Mm-hmm.
We've built a native mobile app for our catalog that allows, retailers to, walk around their store with their iPhone and, scan a UPC of a product and, add it to their cart, on our system.
Mm-hmm.
They can browse our catalog, do anything on, on a mobile device that they can do on our, on a computer, on our website. So we've invested in that. We're data and, analytics is something that we continually to build into our strategy. And, providing data to our customers, and then also just better using data ourselves to make decisions.
Mm-hmm.
That's something that we continue to do. Pretty much any buzzword that people talk about in IT, either we've dabbled in it or, or doing something.
What are some other things that you've found in your time at QBP that have been really successful in motivating your teams? Is it around process? Is it around tech? What are some things that you found to be really successful in motivating teams?
I think one of the big ones was process. When I started here, IT was pretty much a black box. We had kind of this era where I almost call it the wild west area.
Sure.
Requests came into IT, and sometimes we did them, sometimes we didn't. People wouldn't really know when they, would come out. So that was super frustrating for our business because, they didn't know when we could do things or what we could do. But it was frustrating for IT too, because, people were frustrated with us and, we could never do enough. And, we really felt like people didn't understand what we did or, why we were doing things. So, it really created a lot of frustration. So,
sure.
I think really the biggest thing was bringing in process. So, we started bringing in formal release processes and, sending out release notes every time we do a release and only doing releases, certain days of the week, on a schedule. And, then we started bringing in agile and, brought in the Scrum concept and, started, a little bit more of a, defined sprint, sprint process for, our development teams. We brought in, complexity points and, estimating our work and, giving more visibility to the business of, how difficult some of this stuff was. And then we brought them in. We brought in the product owner role and, started involving the business in the decision making. And, that has really had a huge impact, both on, our IT team and our, kind of our, our own, satisfaction
Sure.
and, motivation, but also with the business and, how satisfied they are with our work. And, we've really engaged them in the process. So that's definitely been, an evolution over the years, but it's made a huge difference.
If you were talking to another person, maybe in a similar size company that was going to be or interested in moving into a role like you're in now, where you're kind of leading this large IT team with a lot of different aspects to it, working on a lot of different projects, what's some advice that you might give that person looking to get into that role that you're doing right now? What are some things that they should be working on personally to be ready for that?
Good question. One of the biggest things I can think of is just knowing that you can't be the smartest person or expert in every situation. Especially in technology, people make their entire careers out of these small subsets of technology. And, of the 43 people on my team, I would probably do a really crappy job at 40 of those jobs. So I think, for this role to be successful, you really have to be good at, seeing the big picture, learning to trust people, and, kind of connecting the dots between, kind of those different areas. You also have to, kind of have the intuition and common sense to, what's best for the business.
Sure.
That's something that we're always asking that question.
The organization I'm at, Foundry, we do a lot of consulting with people when they're making those types of changes. You talked a bit about when you brought in Agile and all those different processes and you started upgrading those different systems. I mean, was that things that you did as a team? Did you bring in outside consultants, or was it kind of a mix of those both to help you get to that next level?
A mix of those both. So like Agile, one of the leaders on my team, he's still here. He had worked for a software company before QBP, and he came in and he had experience with Agile, and he introduced it to us, and we had one team that started with this and went about a year, and it really caught on, and people were really happy with it. So other teams started paying attention, and then pretty soon we had two other teams using it, and it kind of grew from there. And now even outside of IT, we've got our marketing group is using agile processes for a lot of their workflows. So
that's great.
A lot of this stuff is just, it started small, and it's kind of spread.
Yeah.
Some of the technology stuff we've had to get a lot of help on that. So we had a pretty big technology deficit maybe 5 or 6 years ago, and we ended up making the decision to replace basically our entire core infrastructure. So we replaced our ERP system with an SAP system. Mm-hmm. We replaced our entire B2B website. We moved our data center from on-premise to off-site. We did this massive project to kind of build this new infrastructure to grow our business on. And, that was an area that we had gotten to the point where we were hamstrung with our old technology.
Sure.
And, couldn't do the international things we wanted to do. We couldn't add locations. We couldn't do the things our customers were asking. So we had to do this pretty dramatic transformation. So when we, go down paths like that, we definitely bring in experts to help us with those sorts of things.
I've talked to a few IT leaders that have talked about a similar type of engagement they've had to go through. Looking back, hindsight is always 20/20, Adam, as you know. But what would you say are some of the lessons you learned during those times with that big of an infrastructure change? What are some things that, looking back, if you knew now, you could go back and you might say, well, I might have done it this way, or I might have done it that way?
Sure. I think one of the big ones that the lessons I've learned probably a couple times over is that we really need to own our solution. There is not one technology partner or software company out there that, really is going to understand, the breadth of, what we're providing to our business. Mm-hmm. So, as we, say we implemented a new ERP system, we didn't have the understanding early on, and parts of these projects that I think we should have, to make the right decisions.
I think what I hear you saying is that the business is a very unique business, and it has very unique challenges. The way the machine works, I can imagine, is also very unique to other places. Would you say that that's a big factor in what you're trying to do when you're bringing in outside resources?
Yeah, definitely. And just to give a specific example, so, we brought in SAP, very successful today in our business, but, during implementation and, even a little bit after go live, it was pretty challenging. And, one thing we did not do is hire internal SAP expertise when we started this project. Sure. So we made a lot of decisions, based on how our previous ERP system worked, or, we took, a consultant's recommendation when they, maybe didn't have a really great understanding of, of our business. Mm-hmm. And I think if we had, kind of internal expertise on board sooner, it really would have allowed us to, maybe make some better decisions and,
sure.
Really own the results of the project a little bit more confidently than we do when we don't have that expertise.
Right.
And we definitely don't set out to be experts in every piece of software that we have. Mm-hmm. I think we do need to be experts in the software that, is core to our business and, really differentiates us.
What are some ways that you go about facilitating good communication between what IT is providing and what the business side is requiring?
Sure. Yeah, communication is huge. And a previous boss of mine once told me that communication is not an event, it's a campaign.
Yeah.
It's something that there's multiple channels. It's kind of this continuous effort, and you never really stop. So we've tried to do a little bit of everything. So, with IT, we started with these, improving our release notes and making it really clear what we were delivering, who was requesting it, who did the work, why we were doing it, what the benefit was to QBP, and, not super cryptic, kind of tech speak.
Sure.
Is what they were in the past. So we started there. We have all sorts of projects we're always working on. So we started, being a little bit more deliberate about our project communication and involving stakeholders early on, and, making sure that everybody that, is affected by a project is, in the loop on what's going on. We've got internal websites that, are showing statuses of things. We use Jira here, so we've got all sorts of Jira dashboards for different people in different roles to see, where tickets are and who's working on something and so forth. So, I'm sure there's other things too, but there's kind of this breadth of communication, and I'm always looking for better ways to communicate too, because I definitely haven't figured it all out.
Yeah, sure. Well, and again, like I said, a lot of leaders in your position are really focused on communication and making sure that not only do you understand what needs to be done, but what that impact is going to be once it is delivered. And so I find that important, not just in terms of for the business, but for the developer or the person requesting it, understanding that they did see some impact from their work.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely.
What do you see happening with your team over the next few years? Do you see continuous growth to keep supporting growth of the organization? Do you see maybe kind of focusing on making sure everything is nailed down? What do you see next as some of your big hurdles coming up?
Sure. So, overall, my strategy is to, continually building on our capability to deliver more and do more things for the business. And then, continually looking at ways we can make our operations more efficient, reduce the amount of time we spend on support, and just get, more efficient at those things so we can spend more time building and adding value. There's a few things we're doing. One of the initiatives we're working on this year is kind of cross-functional work. I mentioned before that we've become pretty siloed as we've grown, and it can be challenging to, have multiple technology teams working on an initiative that is, critical for the business. So we've started doing a little work with cross-functional project teams where we've got technology representation from, somebody from our ERP team, somebody from our e-commerce team, somebody from our BI team, and we've got one business analyst that's, kind of overseeing all of that, versus our previous model where we may have had a BA for each team, and, they're all kind of trying to coordinate their different schedules and sprints together. So these cross-functional teams are, doing sprint planning as a team. They're scheduling releases as a team, and then, kind of scheduling that in with the other, the other work that the existing teams do right now. So looking to kind of continue going down that path a little bit more and, maybe building on that. And I know that's not a new idea. There's other companies that, more permanently organize their teams that way. So, we're just looking for ways to kind of get better at approaching the work. We talked about the innovation and creativity. Technology wise, there's always new technology to look at. So, this is stuff that we're focusing on. So cloud is an area that we've definitely dabbled in, certain things in the cloud. Our HR system has been in the cloud for 5 years. We use Office 365. We use those sorts of things.
Sure.
We've done, small pieces of our infrastructure, but really the next step is to think about our core infrastructure and our core systems. So,
right.
We're starting to talk about what the steps will be to, get pieces of that, into the cloud. So we've got a couple of things we're working on there this year, and then as we move forward in the next few years, I think that'll one of my big initiatives this year is testing. So